Hello everyone and welcome to another educational video of the Entrant YouTube channel. Today we will be discussing about the recent Madhesi crisis and the events that led to the break in Indo-Nepali relations. Now on the next slide we come across the contents that we are going to discuss today, and they are: who are the Madhesi community and their location. Problem number one: Nepal's new constitution and the controversial Citizenship Act. Problem number two: reasons behind the Madhesi struggle or the protest, misconceptions and reality. Problem number three: Nepal blockade 2015. Problem number four: the Chinese interference. In this slide, we see the map of Nepal. Guys, you know Nepal is one of the closest neighboring countries of India. Both India and Nepal share a long history of friendship and even common history, culture, tradition, etc. And the capital city of Nepal is Kathmandu, which you can see in the red circle. Nepal is a landlocked country. Landlocked country means Nepal has been surrounded by, in all sides, by land. That is, you can see India on the south, and also in the east you can see Sikkim over here, which has a border with Nepal, even including West Bengal. And on the west side you can see Uttarakhand. Uttarakhand has an yes, on the west side you can see Uttarakhand, and on the north side you can see China, or the Tibetan part of China. And guys, Nepal heavily depends upon India for goods and transports, access to sea, etc. As I mentioned before, Nepal is a landlocked country and is not close to any sea or ocean. So it always heavily depends upon India for its export and imports of good. And one more interesting fact about Nepal is that Nepal's flag, which you can see on the picture, is the only flag that it does not share the cliche type flag, the rectangular flag that is seen in all of the countries. See, even Indian flag is rectangular, but Nepal's flag is in a very different shape. Now guys, there can be a lot of GK questions, that may ask, what are the Indian states that border Nepal? So let's see. The first one is Uttarakhand over here, and Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal, and Sikkim. So these are the states, the Indian states that border with Nepal. And one more thing, Nepal can be geographically divided into three parts: the Terai region, hill, and the mountainous region. And another interesting fact of Indo-Nepal relation is that Indians do not need visa to enter the country of Nepal, because the Indo-Nepal border is very porous. Porous means it is free of control. It's very easy to cross between the two countries. And if you go to states like Bihar or UP, which I mean the areas that are bordering with Nepal, you can see workers from different countries crossing the border daily for their job, etc. That even includes transportation, trade, all those stuff. Now in this slide we come across the main issue and the problem that has been a major debate between the Indo-Nepali relations. So over here we will see who are the Madhesis and where do they belong. So Madhesis are referred as Taraibasi Nepali, or a group of several communities. Tauru community is also involved. So Madhesi means it is not just one community, but a community that involves a lot of other communities. So Madhesi can be known, so it is called as a broad term. Second point, Madhesis are an indigenous ethnic group in Nepal who lives in the Madhesi Plains region of southern Nepal close to the Indian border. Uttar Pradesh. The Madhesis have caste and ethnicity similar to Bihar and eastern UP, with frequent intermarriages between families on other side of the border. As I mentioned earlier in the earlier slide, that the border of Nepal and India is very porous, so people, they travel each day across the border, they involve in trade, and also, and also build up many sort of like relations between the citizens. Most of the affluent rich community of the Terai region are educated in India, and Madhesi is mostly involved in cross-border trades, as Indo-Nepali border is porous, open border. Now, most of the 11 Indian ambassadors to Nepal since 1919 have been from Bihar. So ambassadors here means diplomats, the official diplomats of India or the high class diplomats of India in Nepal. So diplomats' main job is to maintain the foreign relations between the two countries. So, and about half of them belong to the Madhesi community, sizable caste in Nepal's Terai. So, in the previous point, it is mentioned that the Madhesi people living in the southern part of Nepal has a lot of common to do with the people who live in the eastern part of UP and also Bihar, that too close to the Nepal territory. As intermarriages have been very common between these two regions, a lot of Madhesi communities have been Indian ambassadors to Nepal. Their interest and vision concern in the region's politics has attracted suspicion in Kathmandu. So the Madhesi community, you can say they are a sizable community over there, and they even have a voice in the Nepal's internal politics and other internal affairs. And one more thing is that many of the Nepali population, you see, so they look this Madhesi people under suspicion because they find them always, supporting the Indian government or the Indian interest as such. Now to the next slide, which deals about the main problem number one. That is Nepal's new constitution and the controversial bill of 2015. So, the recent Nepali constitution was the fifth constitution enacted by Nepal. The constitution defines Nepal as a secular country, which means the country doesn't uphold a singular religion or doesn't favor any single religion. All religions, example like Hinduism, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, all are equal in the eyes of the state or the government. Nepal was to be divided into seven but not eight federal provisions. So, federal provisions here means states. So in India we call like states like Karnataka, Kerala, and Uttarakhand as states. But in Nepal, people call states as federal provisions. A clause stating in the constitution that religious and cultural freedom practice since ancient time. So what it means that a clause in Nepal constitution says that it will safeguard the religion and the cultural freedom practice of Nepal that had existed in them since ancient times. The next slide talks about the ban in the system of death penalty. The next one, proselytizing or religious conversions remains illegal. Guys, regarding this point, there are a lot of accusations against the Christian missionaries and also the other Christian sectors of involving in converting a lot of a growing number of communities in the lower caste or the unprivileged sectors of Hinduism and Buddhism into Christianity. So there was a new law that would stop this flow of conversion. So mainly people convert to Christianity or other religions from Hinduism is that most of them accuse or also have a problem of the caste system, the caste discrimination as such, and also in search for money and also a better life. The last one, rights to citizenship, that involves discrimination against women. The discrimination against women means the women who are considered as foreigners in Nepal. Now, coming to the continuation of the slide, Nepal is interestingly the first Asian nation that prescribes the protection of rights of gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender communities, prohibition of discrimination against sexual and gender communities, and then rhododendron as the national flower, and the cow still remained as a national animal. There were a lot of proposals to change the cow as a national animal into horned rhino, but these proposals for renaming or making one horned rhino as the Nepal's national animal was cancelled by the Nepali government. Now, let's talk about the controversial Nepali Citizenship Act 2015. So the act, so I'm just going to point out the two major points of this act, which had caused a lot of, disturbance in the Nepali community and even the Madhesi crisis. A foreign woman married to a Nepali national should have to wait 7 years for a naturalized citizenship. So, guys, what I meant in here is that in the previous slides you have seen that intermarriages between the Nepal and Indian border are common, especially in the southern Terai region of Nepal. So, for example, if a Nepali person or if he marries an Indian girl into Nepal, the Indian woman has to wait for 7 years for a naturalized citizenship. So, the Madhesi people find it very discriminative against them. Second one, it includes seven rights that a foreign woman married to a Nepali national can only exercise certain fundamental rights till she formally acquires citizenship certificates. And this, the second point describes that the Nepali constitution only gives a certain number of fundamental rights, which means the fundamental rights of this newly foreign women in Nepal can only enjoy a few fundamental rights as compared to other Nepali citizenship. So you can also find a sort of discrimination between the two factors. That is, one is the limited fundamental rights enjoyed given to the foreign nationals and the unlimited fundamental rights enjoyed by the Nepali citizenship. Now, coming to the next point, problem number two, the reason behind the Madhesi struggle or protest. The new federal restructuring of Nepal into new seven provinces has left the Madhesis divided among the five provinces. Madhesi community, if you see in the map, they are widely spread in the entire southern region of Nepal. So the entire southern region of Nepal only shares a common border with India. And this southern, the entire southern region of Nepal were now divided into five provinces, which means that the Madhesi communities, instead of forming a single state, was divided into five different states. So they find a problem of the government dividing themselves, etc. Now, the second point is that the unequal and unfair creation of electoral constituency in the Terai has not been done on the basis of population. Over here, as I mentioned earlier, the Madhesi communities constitute a major share of population in the southern part of Nepal. And the recent electoral constituency creation was not equal or did not give fair number of opportunities for the Madhesi tribe. Now, the Terai, that is the southern part of Nepal, is a region that holds 50% of the Nepal population. The newly mentioned citizenship laws in the constitution declares it's illegal for children of Nepali mothers to foreigners from acquiring Nepali citizenship. In this point, it means that the Nepal constitution declares that Nepali citizens should not marry foreign women. That is, as I mentioned before, the Indian women are considered as foreign in Nepal. and the Nepali government always accuse that foreigners are always, mixing the Nepali culture, and it's illegal to help these foreigners acquire Nepali citizenship through marriages. The last one is that the newly drafted Nepali constitution did not address the rights of the Madhesi community. So, this itself shows a clear mark of discrimination that was shown to the Madhesi community. While all other communities in Nepal were given importance in the newly constructed Nepal constitution, the Madhesi people were ignored. So, that's something which interact or outrage this Madhesi community to held mass protest on between the Indo-Nepali border. Now, next one we'll be dealing about the misconceptions and the reality, which means the fake news or the false news that has been perceived inside the Nepalese mind. Another one is the reality or the truth that revolves around the event. So we'll talk about the misconceptions. Many top-class Nepali community leaders blame that the Madhesis and the Dhoti communities as having close familial ties with India and even accused India behind supporting the protest. Over here we come across a new community which is called the Dhoti community, and this community, as I mentioned before, Madhesi, it is not a community. It's a broad term that has been used for a lot of communities over here. So one of those communities that comes under the Madhesi term is the Dhoti community. And obviously, as staying next to the Indian border, they have a lot of close familial ties with Indian citizenship, etc. Now, the Madhesis are suspiciously viewed by a majority of Nepali indigenous community as agents of India, using them to exert the control over Nepal's sovereignty. And one more thing is that Nepal leaders always accuse of these Madhesis to represent Indian interest because they fear that India would encroach into Nepal's sovereignty and internal affairs. Now, let's see what the reality or the true view is. The protests are led by the Nepal community living in the Terai region of Nepal, and they were heavily discriminated by the powerful Nepali upper class from the hilly regions. So, the main problem is that this slide shows that there is no hand of the Indian government behind the huge massive protest that was held by this Madhesi community, but the past problems or the discrimination shown by the high caste or the high communities of Nepal towards this Madhesis were the main reason for such protest. And another point is that, for example, the Tarus were disposed from their lands, and the Madhesis were seen as Indians and were questioned for their loyalty towards Nepal. These discrimination were majorly caused by the powerful hill community, dominant power in successive Nepal governments. Madhesis, Tarus, and Janjati groups are also underrepresented in legislature in all departments of the states, and they are even economically backward and compared to other Nepal communities. In this slide, we come across two more new communities. So those are the Taru community and the Janjati community. We came across another community called Dhoti community, which all comes under the Madhesis. And over here, all these three groups, which comprise of the broader term of Madhesis, were actually underrepresented, which means they were given a very few less seats in the Nepal parliament and politics, and they were comparatively very much economical backward, and lacked a lot of facilities compared to other Nepal citizens. So inequality, discrimination by the Nepali government and the communities are the main reasons behind the Madhesi crisis. Now, coming to the last point, that is the problem for the Chinese interference. The recent Madhesi protests had drawn the Nepal towards China, which is an alternative. Well, this similar move was to caution India and had been practiced even before democracy was established in Nepal. During the regime of King Mahendra, etc., Nepal has signed around 10 trade agreements with Chinese government. China in response had agreed on providing transit facility through Tianjin seaport for Nepal goods imported. It has also been suspected that the Chinese work behind the major tussle in Indo-Nepal friendship relation. So majorly recent days, the Nepal has been taking a lot of anti-India stance, and many people have been accusing the China's work behind the huge problem between the Indo-Nepali relations. The last one is the present Indo-Nepali territorial dispute, such as the Lipu Lake, Kalapani, and Limpiadura. So, so these were the factors that has led Nepal close to the China's fault. And over here we can see Nepal as a country that has been, playing between India and China. So they keep on shifting their preference and also their policies to their interest. And we even have a lot of territorial disputes such as Lipule, Kalapani, and Limpiadura. And Nepal is always, the government has been blaming India for illegally acquiring those lands. That is. And with this, we come to the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching and gained a lot of knowledge regarding the Madhesi crisis and also the Indo-Nepal relations. If you guys have any doubts or any sort of clarification that has to be made from my side, please be free to comment on the comment section below. As always, like, subscribe, and share the Entrant YouTube channel and also this video. Thanks for watching and goodbye. Take care.